Good afternoon, everyone. You're welcome to the week 4, which is the last week of the software testing bootcamp cohort 2. I would like to congratulate you on this note for you to have made it thus far to week 4. I want you to give yourself a pat on the back. You've really done well for yourself. So I realized that last class we will rush through the defect and bug life cycle. So our speaker today will taking us through defect life cycle to serve like a refresher on that. Today we have a very experienced personnel in the field of software testing. This is someone I call a senior colleague. Well, shortly I'll like to share my screen. I'll go through his profile. Uh, he is such he is somebody I look up to up there. I remember those years while I was still finding my feet in software testing. Myself and Elvis worked at First Bank, and I remember those times we organized a peer review session. So we're still babies in testing as at then. So I remember one thing that stood out for me during that time. He mentioned that whenever you're given a requirement document, it is expected of you as a QA to question what is brought before you. It's not every time you just take everything that is being brought in as a requirement specification. It is expected of you to guide them through. I remember whenever we're doing static testing and during requirements review sessions, we always come in together as QAs. Oh, we were junior QAs then, so they were senior colleagues. So they put us through on how well we can test. And I can say for sure that Elvis is very good at what he does. Elvis, to you, we might not have celebrated you well enough in this field, but for somebody like me, and I'm sure the members of this community, they really appreciate what you do. So permit me to share my screen right now while I read out his profile. Confirm if you can see my screen. All right. I think I have a bigger. Okay. So Elvis is a senior quality assurance engineer with over 14 years of experience delivering high quality software solutions across telecommunications, banking, fintech, oil and gas industry. His extensive cross-industry experience has equipped him with deep expertise in software testing, quality engineering, and ensuring reliability, scalable, and compliance systems. Driven by a passion for quality and a keen eye for details, Elvis has successfully led and contributed to the delivery of mission-critical applications while promoting best practices in quality assurance. He is committed to mentoring aspiring quality assurance professionals and sharing practical knowledge that empowers teams to build robust, customer-focused software products. So wherever you are joining from, I want you to keep dropping your emojis with a loud ovation as we bring up our speaker in the person of Elvis Ekata. Please, you may have the floor, sir. Thank you. I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Confirm you can hear me, please. Loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, cool. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I didn't hear you. I'm blushing here. Well, I'm not this kind of a person that likes all this 20 stuff. If you know my kind of personality, thank God for everything. We've done is work together and just like that. So Nika has already given an update on my profile. I don't need to flog it again. And I'm just me. I'm Elvis, a senior QA engineer. Started my career 14 years ago as a just as you are, right? As a trainee tech analyst, and then I was determined, and along the line, I built my career to this level I am today. Thank God. So today we'll be going straight to our training for today, our topic for today, which is bug reporting and test summary reporting. So I'm going to share my slides, and please, it's going to be an interactive session. So if you have any questions, if I'm too fast, you can draw me back. I'm available. To confirm, you can see my screen. Can you see my screen, please? Yeah. Okay, cool. Now, so our first topic that we'll be dealing with or that we'll be driving in today will be bug reporting, right? Writing clear, complete defect reports that developers can act on. So it's one thing to write a bug report. It's another thing for developers to understand your bug reports, right? And act on them. So if you don't write a clear report and your bug reports are incomplete, or maybe they are not well descriptive enough for the developer to remember, you wrote it in your own words and the developer may not be there. So developers on the other hand, they always look for an excuse not to fix issues. I'm sorry to say if there's any developer here in our midst, but that's what I've observed from my years in QA testing. So they will always look for one way or the other to um, waive resolving some issues. So if you don't write them well, they may come back for you because they'll just be imagining that, oh, what I used like 4 months to build or like 5 months to build, someone is just there. You want to tear it down in a day. You know that kind of experience now, like the time you want to spoil his job. So you won't be happy. Nobody will be happy. But we're not spoiling anybody's job. We're trying to make the job beautiful because at the end of the day, they will not ask who tested it, who developed it, that will always ask, that people will always ask. Even if the application, when the application finally goes out and is doing well, they'll not remember the tester, the developer that they will now be asking after, who built this application? Wow, the person that did this job is a very good job that the person did. Forgetting the tester. Meanwhile, we went through sweat and blood, right? To put in our sweat and blood to ensure that the application is good and bug free. So I'll be going over to the first slide, right? It says, what is a bug? We are all humans. God designed us in a way that He didn't make us a perfect person. You are not perfect, I'm not perfect, right? Everybody is bound to make a mistake. So don't expect an application that is being built to just be perfect because it's a human being that builds it. Even if it's an AI that builds the application, AI, so from my usage of AI of recent, they still need directions, they still need corrections, they make mistakes too, right? So everybody is bound to make a mistake in life. So also applicable to implementation of this box. Please excuse me. Just give me a minute, please. Sorry. Sorry for the breaking transmission. Look, like I was saying, right? A bug is a deviation or a mistake made by someone, right? Simply put, it's just a gap between what is expected that the system should do and what the system is doing. So when you're testing an application and your expectation is not what you actually see, that means there's a bug. Do you understand? So it's just when there's a difference between your expected result and your actual result, then there's a bug. It's one thing to identify a bug. It's another thing to be able to report it properly in a way that the developers will comprehend, they will accept. Listen, in a way that the developers will comprehend, in a way that the developers will understand. It's one thing for them to understand it, it's another thing for them to accept it. Developers are good in rejecting defects. Nika can bear me witness. Some of you that have already started your testing career, you can bear witness. They can look for any excuse to reject defects. They can either call it knowledge gap. That's the sweetest language in their mouth that they use, that you don't, it's a knowledge gap, right? But by the time you write it very well in a proper way and you construct it very well, they won't have any option than to accept it because you're giving them every proof they want. So why are they now rejecting it? You get, so I am of the opinion that when you are writing your defects, write it in a way that it will attract it will attract the business, that when nobody can even fight it. Listen, I know product owners at times they own the product and they own requirements, but I've challenged them so many times that they'll say, okay, this is not a bug, or this let it work the same way. No, I'll let them know the implication. Do you understand? The fact that you're a product owner doesn't mean you know it all. I'm a quality assurance engineer, and let me bring my quality into your product. So I've challenged so many product managers many times, and at the end of the day, they will bow to whatever I have to say because we will drag it. So I'm not the kind of QA that you just tell something and I'll say, okay, no problem. I'll now start going. We'll fight it. I'll bring business implications. Why I said this thing must not go live, or why I said this thing is a bug. Do you understand? So now we've already identified the bug. So bug can be identified during your review sessions. Like you had Nick saying, we always have review sessions before. While we were in First Bank, we always had review sessions, right? Peer review sessions. And when there are discrepancies between two lines or between two requirements, then there's an issue. There's a mistake, right? Because your testing process does not even start from when the software has been built. It starts from requirement gathering. So you need to be there in the requirement gathering process for you to understand the requirement one and for you to contribute, right? And it's expected that the BA will go back and put together a functional requirement document, but in the process can make a mistake or can shift, a process. But because you were there during the requirement gathering session, you identified that this thing, there's a gap here, there's a bug here, or there's this requirement is so ambiguous for me to understand. So in software testing, there's no maybe. Do you understand? Maybe it's black, maybe it's white. No. If it is white, it is white. If it is black, it is black. So that is what the requirement is. Your requirement must either be white or black, not maybe it's black. So if you don't understand the requirement, you don't understand it. Stop guessing. What causes all these bugs? Or what causes a defect? There are things that trigger a defect or causes bug. Number one, when the requirement is not properly written, or when there's a gap in your requirements or in the document, the developer can actually work with the document. And if there's a gap, that's why like I said, we also identify issues in documentations, software requirement document, functional requirement document, or whatever. We need to review and identify issues there too, because if there's a gap, the developers will pick that gap and they'll work with it. Remember, the FROD is our Bible, it's our map that we use to work, right? And when that FROD is faulty, expect a faulty application. Two, it may be that the tools that they are using or the technology they are using is archaic. Archaic in the sense that it's an old technology that they are using. Imagine somebody using Java 8, or imagine somebody using an old Java version when we have a recent Java version. Expect much bugs than what you expect in using Java 21. Do you understand? So these are a few things. I'm just trying to summarize what causes a bug. So let's go to the next. So I hope we understand now what bugs are and what causes bugs. So the next one is anatomy of a good bug report. So the anatomy of a good bug report is like anatomy. Anatomy is a biological word, right? Well, we can call it a life cycle of a good bug report. But before we go into the life cycle of a good bug report, what should your bug report contain? What should be the elements of your bug report? For your bug report to be, how will I put it? For your bug report to be good, it must contain a bug ID. Well, we have different tools that we can use in generating bug ID, but in a process where your company or whoever you work for do not have bug reporting tools, you can use Excel. That's manually to create bugs. So they have templates, but your templates must include these fields. One, bug ID. You must have a bug ID. That is an ID, just like your name. Your name is your identifier. So a bug must have an identifier, right? When reporting it, it must have an identifier. Then the next one is the summary of the bug. Well, you can explain in description, but anybody looking at your bug report at once, at a glance, the first thing that I should see is the summary of your bug that you are reporting. You summarize it in a way that anybody that looks at it will know. Maybe if you need more details of that bug, the person can now go to the description part of it and get the full context of the issue. But looking at the summary alone, you should be able to have a clue of what happened and what occurred. So you should be able to have an understanding. So maybe when you now need to now look for test data that they use, and maybe the reproducible steps, you can now go to the description and the rest of them, right? But looking at the summary alone should tell it all. Then you need to now have description. The bug report must have description. Yes, like I said, it must have description. So description now will now encapsulate the summary and everything. You tell the stories of how you did A, you were expecting A, and A turned to B, right? And it doesn't stop there. Reporting it with a description does not mean you've reported your bug. No. You need to now guide the developer or whoever is looking at your defect sheet on how to reproduce the issue that you reported. That issue must be reproducible. Like for me, if I'm testing sometimes, if I see a bug like this, bam, I know this is a bug. I say, no, wait. This is a bug. Let me try and reproduce it. I will try and reproduce it 10 times. That same bug. I know it's a bug already. My conscience already told me that it's a bug, but I will try and reproduce that bug 10 times so that tomorrow the developer will not come back to me to say, I cannot reproduce it. I'll reproduce it 10 times. If it's happening in Chrome browser, I'll try and use Edge browser. If it's happening in Edge browser, I'll try and use Mozilla. I'll try and use all the browsers just to be sure that it's not a browser thing, right? Because most times browsers too affect your applications. Depends on the organization's policy, right? So I'll try and create it across all browsers just to be sure that I'm getting the same result. If I'm getting the same result, then I'm convinced that yes, nobody can come up to me to tell me that this is not a bug anymore. If I'm testing a mobile app, the same thing. If I'm testing on maybe an Android mobile phone, I'll try and test on Apple, on iOS too, just to be sure that I'm getting the same result. Then I'll now be convinced that yes, this is a bug. Then I can now go straight ahead to report it by putting in each step from login to when the issue was displayed or to when we got to that particular issue. I'll try and put steps guiding the developer, because you will not be there when you will be reviewing your work. Remember, I said, if you don't put it well, if you don't plan your bugs well, they'll push it back to you, and you now look foolish before them, because they always want to make you look foolish that you don't know what you're doing. We are not fighting any battle. We are trying to make an application good enough for users. But sometimes, if we need to fight, we will fight it for the application to go live and look good. Because tomorrow, when the application is live, you'll be able to tap your chest to maybe your folks and your friends to say, I tested the application. Even if my name is not mentioned, the developer's name is mentioned. But yes, let me test them. You'll be proud that you did a good work. Right? And another thing I want to say, permit me to say this. In my years of testing, right, I now notice that I live a kind of life that I always find fault in some things. If you do something for me today, maybe I say, come and sweep this place. If you sweep it for me, man, I tell you the truth. I will come back and I will find maybe one dust. It happens to me in my house most times. My wife will start complaining. I say, don't blame me. It's my kind of job. I'll find one dust. I'll go back there and clean. I say, see what you say. You sweep. See. You see, so because of the life you live, you've practiced quality assurance over the years. We've practiced how to identify bugs over the years. So it's now a lifestyle. It's not a thing. It's not a professional thing anymore. It's a lifestyle. I can dress up today and I'll tell you that no, this thing not match. This should not match this shirt. Or okay, this shoe, they told me that this shoe will bounce me up, but it's not bouncing me up. Yes, it's a lifestyle. Make it your lifestyle. I'm not saying you start finding fault in people, no. But just learn how to, make quality assurance a lifestyle so that everything around you, at least to some extent, will have quality. Then we need to now have expected results. What is your expected result? When you are reviewing your documents, right? You review the documents and there's an expectation that the requirements, there's an expectation from the requirement or the design, right? There was an expectation, and that is what is your expected result. So they say, okay, user should be able to log in with correct username and password. User should not be able to log in with wrong username and correct password like that. So there's an expectation. But when you now try to log in with a correct username and password and it's telling you unauthorized, that means, and maybe you've done your onboarding successfully. They sent you an email that you successfully onboarded and you now have access to the application. And you now try to use that same credentials to log in, and it's not telling you that unauthorized, not showing an unauthorized error to you. That means there's an issue now. So that your expected result should be the requirements, you know the requirement traceability, right? From the requirements that you gather from your test case to say, okay, this requirement, or from the acceptance criteria, because there will always be an acceptance criteria in together you're testing, that this acceptance criteria clearly states that I should be able to log in with my credentials that I'm onboarded with, right? And now I'm not able to log. So that's the expected result. The expected result, you quote if there's a version of or a section of the requirement that states that maybe captures that requirement that bug you're trying to test against, right? You quote that, you have every right to quote it in your expected result to say, okay, this section of the requirement document states that I should be able to log in. So that that means you are referring the developer back to the requirements, that you know what you are doing. Then before you now put your actual result, that I tried to now log in with my correct username and password, it didn't go through. Then you state maybe the environment that you're doing your test, as if there's an environment, your browser, whatever, you state them. If it's a device, you state them. Then severity is very important. All bugs, they have severity levels. We have critical, we have major. No, we have critical, we have high, we have medium, and we have low. Some people they call it major, some they call it minor. Depends on the organization that you're working with, and depends on the documentations or whatever the practice that your organization practices, right? But I know we have critical, we have high, we have medium, and we have low. So if you put your defects as high severity, that means is a red flag. Anybody that sees high severity knows it's a red flag. You know, when they say a red flag, make me danger. So anybody, even if it's the stakeholders that sees that severity, critical, they will call for a meeting immediately. But you now need to know how to be able to differentiate between your severity level, or how to define your severity levels, right? So the severity level is the impact of the bug on the application, the impact of the bug, not only on the application, to the organization or to the business, because every business is out there to make money. And when you have a buggy application and it goes live, how do you make money? If you don't have customers, you cannot make money. If you don't have customers using your application, you are running at a loss. Remember, you employed developers to build your application. Remember, you employed software testers to test your application. Remember, you employed product managers, you employed project managers. You even went as far as investing on the technology that they will use. This, you've spent money. So in return, what will you be expecting? That people should use the application and you get little returns from it. So you've invested so much, and at the end of the day, you're going live with a critical bug. Every customer, I want to put this before you today, every user, every end user is looking for an application that will be very easy for him or her to use. Else, they'll go to your competitor. Whatever A is doing, B is also doing it. So if you give me problem as a customer and you don't want me to, you are giving me headache to use the application, and your application is even giving me headache, I have an option. I'll go to B. If this one is much more easier to use, fine and good, I'll go and use B. Then you will lose as the A. So that's why you have to plan very well when we are testing. Put yourself in the shoes of the business that, okay, I don't want this application to go live, and they will call my name to say, oh, you tested this application. Why is there this kind of bug and you missed it out? Do you understand? Then they will now dive into priority. What is priority? Priority is how soon do you want the developer to fix the bug? If it's a critical defect, that means it's going to be the highest priority. You need to fix it immediately. By the time you put it in the highest priority, that means fix it immediately, or you put it in critical too, fix it immediately, fix it immediately. That's what it's calling. But by the time you put a critical defect, a critical bug, you set a low priority to that critical bug. The developer will look at the priority that you like, okay, well, now you prioritize them now. I will go and fix it later, maybe in the future or during the last phase. And maybe that bug needs urgent attention. But because you mistakenly assigned a low priority to it, the developer will not check it. They'll only go for bugs that are of high priority and highest priority, and maybe the highest severity ones, right? Then we also need to now assign it to someone, right? So in my field of software testing, we have front-end developers, we have back-end developers, right? Most times, and it's always very difficult for you to know who to assign a bug to. But most times it's easy, right? If the front end is not showing the error that you know is readable to you, you can actually do your inspect, check the API, whatever the API returns. I think most times the front end also returns it, right? So it's from the API that default is, that means the back end. So you need to assign it to a back end person. But if the API is giving you the correct report and the front end is the one giving you a negative report, that means you need to assign it to a front end, maybe a UI developer, right? So that's it. Then also you need screenshots, attachments reported by yourself. You put your name there and the date you reported it, and the status of a bug is very, very important. You need to put the status so that anybody seeing it will know if his bug is new or is maybe an old bug that has not. Why you need the date especially is because maybe you have an SLA, right? Service level agreement, that all bugs should be fixed within a day, or within 2 hours, or within 24 hours. And now you've raised the bug today, 27th of June, and till 30th of June, or maybe till 1st of or 7th of July, the bug is still open. They've not touched it, they've not fixed it. There's not been any sign of you say, okay, I've done a retest and it failed again and I reopened it. Then that means there's a breach in the SLA, right? So they will now hold whoever they want to hold responsible. Okay, so that's why you need the date of the date the defect was created, so that for traceability and maybe audit purpose. Okay, then you also need the status. You also need to be able to know how and when to change statuses of bugs. We'll get there. So let's go to the next slide. I know I've covered so many. I've covered the severity, right? Severity level asks how bad the system breaks, the issue breaks the system. I've gone through all this one. I told you, like I said, severity level will have critical, high, medium, and okay, Chinon, so your hand is up, please.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. I'm really having fun while learning. I've learned a lot. Yes, thank you. Okay, I just have couple of questions. Now I know you mentioned uh,
Can we take these questions? Can we take these
we have
questions?
to reproduce
So can you hear me?
uh, uh,
You're breaking up. I can't hear you.
if we find out any bug, we have to reproduce them to talk about you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. So I was saying, can we take these questions at the end of the meeting? I'll entertain questions. Can you just jot it down? We can get
Okay.
back to them at the end, so
Okay,
that
because you actually said you wanted the class to be interactive. That was why.
yeah. So
Okay,
when
there's
we
no
get
problem.
there,
It's fine. It's
yeah.
fine.
So because of
All
time,
right. Thank
right?
you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. All right. So like I said, right. So if you have any questions, please, just because of the time, let's just put them down. We'll address all questions. If I'm not able to answer, Anika is here. She's my able colleague. I trust her. She'll still answer for me. So, like I said, so we've gone through all these severity levels, right? Severity is how, just to put in a layman's language, the impact of the bug to the application, the impact of the bug to a business, right? So, what is the impact? Right? So there are some cases that business will want to rush you to production today. You say, okay, I give you 2 days to test, and maybe you now came up with a critical bug on the day of testing, and it will take the developer like 5 days to fix, but they want to go live tomorrow. You understand? So you need to now let them know the impact of the bug to the business itself. So that's why I said it's not only the impact of the bug to the application, the impact of the bug to the business too matters a lot. You understand? So that's a severity level too. So that's how to define severity level. Not only the impact of the bug to the application, but it also includes the impact of the bug to the business, because business is meant to make money and not to make losses. So let's go to the priority. So priority asks how soon, like I said, if you put a low priority, right, in a defect, the developers will treat it last. So you need to now define your priority. Like I said, we still have critical. Some people call it critical, high, medium, low. Some people call it urgent, right? So it depends on, like I said, it's not, if you call it urgent, it's not wrong. If you call it critical, it's not wrong. If you call it high, it's not wrong. If you call it medium. So we have different stages, just the same way. So we need to be able to now look at a bug and say, okay, this bug um, is going to be a critical bug. Critical bugs are showstoppers. Critical bugs, when a bug is critical, when you say critical, if the severity of a bug is critical, right? That means that bug is particularly a showstopper. For instance, you want to log in, like I mentioned initially, I'm trying to log in with my username and password, and I cannot access the application. Meanwhile, I should be able to access the application. So it's a showstopper. I cannot even do anything. Showstopper in the sense that I'm stalled there. I can't do any work. I can't do anything. So it's a critical defect that they need to fix, because that is the first point of action for me to log in. If I can't log in, how will I be able to access an application? I don't know whether I'm making sense. So those are critical bugs, right? Bugs that will bugs that will stop you from, hinder you from doing your proper test, hinder you from moving forward. Those are critical defects. Bugs that has to do with financial losses. For instance, they say, okay, if a user sends 10 naira, you'll be charged 5 naira, and I send 10 naira, they charge me 20 naira. If you charge 20 naira around the full customers that you have, that means you're a thief. They will come for you. Do you understand? So bugs that have to do with financial financial losses, or okay, for instance, they'll say, okay, if I charge, if I, there are some cases that I will not even be charged at all, And I'm expecting the application is expected to charge customer 5 naira, and at the end of the day, it's not charging any customer anything. So you can see that is still a critical bug. So that it has to do with money. Do you understand? So high severity defects are defects that, okay, yes, so we know it's high, but we can still move ahead and work. Fine and good. Now, someone speaking. Please, can you mute if you are not speaking, please? So high severity defects are defects that, yes, I know this is high. I know this is a bug, is high, but I can still progress and do some other tests in the sense, e.g., let's take for instance, I'm a user. I have created my username and my password to create other users, right? I've been able to create other users and assign roles to them. I've been able to create other users, right? But assigning roles to them is failing. That doesn't stop me from creating users. Just the assigning role. So that assigning role assignment will be a very high defect, a high bug, because I need to assign roles. If I don't assign roles to users, how will they be able to work? Do you understand? So it's not like a showstopper for me. I was able to log in, do some things, and the role assignment part of it is what is failing, right? So you can call that. Depends on still how you define your bug and how your team lead sees it. Different people sees this assigning box severity and priority different ways. The same way you think is not the same way I think, right? But at the end of the day, the stakeholders will still come together during your defect triage meeting and redefine your severity level. You agree. It's not something that you will impose on them. The stakeholders include your product manager, project manager, the business itself, developers, yourself, your team lead, whatever. You all come together again, review the defects, and reassign your severity level and priority level to those defects based on your agreement, right? So it's not what you doesn't really matter. It's what you give them that you impose on them. No, you still need to do a defect trial meeting where everybody will come together and redefine it. If they like what you've done, fine, they will approve it. If they don't like what you've done, you can say, no, this defect based on business logic is a low priority defect. You don't have any say. It's their product, right? But you know everybody came together to do it. But you now let them know why you feel is of high priority, and they are trying to say, no, it's not what we want to deploy now. We'll fix it in later. Let's put it low priority. Do you understand? So you will not argue with them in such cases. Let's go to the next place. So preparing a bug report, like I said, when I was doing my stuff, I said, if I'm trying to create a defect, if I see a defect, I try and reproduce it multiple times just to be sure that it's not a one-off thing. It's not a one-off thing, right? Just to be sure that the defect is happening across different browsers, different devices. Okay, before I'll now say, okay, yes. So I'll be able to reproduce it myself. And after reproducing it, I'll now I'll check to ensure that maybe other defects that I've created, I'm not trying to use another English to make it look like a duplicate defect, because there are times we report issues maybe across different modules, and it's only one fix that will actually resolve those issues. Maybe for instance, you have different departments to say, okay, and these departments should be able to activate something. This department should be able to deactivate something, right? For instance, I'm just giving an instance, right? And you have 2 or 3 departments that you are testing at the same time, and the bug you raised is that the user was able to deactivate a user, or the user was unable to deactivate a report or something, right? For admin module, or for, let's say, for admin module, then you still go back to cashier module again to say the user was unable to deactivate. So it's the same defect happening across all the modules. So I think one particular fix will be able to resolve. So you ensure that there are no duplicates. So you don't raise 10 defects, and out of the 10 defects, 5 of them are duplicates. They will bounce it back. They'll say, this is a duplicate of this is a duplicate of this is a duplicate of that. Evidence too. Evidence matters. That's where your screenshot comes in. That's where your screen recording comes in, right? And ensure you isolate the steps. Don't put steps together. Don't put login and navigation together. Isolate, put them, number them 1, 2, 3, so that anybody going through it will know that this person prepared, this person had day house where prepare this report. You understand? You don't need to be there for them to look at your bug report and understand. You don't need to be there. And then if 1, 2, 3 developers keeps coming back to you to say, I don't understand what you've raised, know that you are not reporting your bugs well, and you need to work on your bug reporting well. In some cases, yes, they will come back to you to say, I don't understand what you've raised. Come and explain. And looking at your own bugs, sometimes, then when we're still coming up, sometimes we'll raise some bugs, man. Developers will now come back to us to say, come and explain this bug to us. Sometimes if I read my own bug like this, my man, I will not even understand what I wrote again. I will not be thinking, how did I raise this thing? What did I do? How did this thing come up? Because I did not communicate it well, 1. 2, there was no evidence. 3, there was no reproducible step. It happens, bro. It happens. You'll be confused. You'll not look foolish before the people you are trying to correct, because they will just be laughing to say, oh yeah, now do it. Because your English, number 1, is not is basketballs. Number 2, the steps are not even there to guide them on how to do it. 3, there's no evidence. There's no evidence to show that this thing actually happened. And developers will always shy away from such defects. And they will not call you, the person that raised it, come and tell us how you reproduce it. And you now look at your own defect that reported. You now be explaining, you don't think. You shouldn't think. If you do the right thing, you shouldn't think. If they call you at the middle of the night, how did you create this defect? Okay, you have the step now. Okay, go like this, 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 and you see it. You don't even need to share screen with them. So that's why I would say isolate steps and the environment that you use. So we have different environments most times. They'll tell you this is a development environment, this is a testing environment, this is a UAT environment, this is a staging environment before you now go to production, right? So which environment? Some bugs may happen in development environment, and in UAT environment, they are not happening, because development environment is where they do their rubbish. And you now go there and test. If it happens there, you report it that it's in the development environment. Then you now need to, they will know, so that they will know the right environment to go and fix these issues. Because in an organization, or in an IT organization, or in a fintech, whatever, they have different environments. They don't even have one environment. They'll actually, like me, in my own organization, we have multiple environments. So if I'm reporting it, I'll tell you so and so environment. Most times we won't have, because we interact with a bank. So that I'll tell you that it's the bank UAT environment that this thing happens, not in our own environment. So that you guide them, because they were not there. They've done their own work and they've left it for you to do your stuff. So you now need to let them know the environment that is happening. Then you need to classify your bugs too, like I said. Classify them. Then after you've done all these things, you've classified, is this bug a high severity? Is it a low severity? Is it a high priority? You are doing your classification, right? Then you now need to put the bugs down. Then do your self-review. After putting it down, remember I said we are human beings, right? And God created us in such a way that He did not create us to be perfect. So we are bound to make mistakes. So when you write your bugs down, ensure that you go back and review, because a single sentence, a single I that you remove from a sentence can mean another thing to another user. So that's why you need to do self-review. Review it yourself before submitting it. And as upcoming QAs, or as maybe junior QAs, you won't submit it to the developer directly. You will always have a lead, a team lead that you submit to, and the team lead will review. Be your second eyes to review. So if you don't do your first level review and you submit it to a team lead that does not have the patience to tell you that no, this one is wrong, how did you, because they will always question you, how did you come about this issue? So if your bug report is not even understandable in the first place to your team lead? How do you expect the developers to understand it? So that's why you need to do your reviews, do all these steps, and ensure that your team lead, because they will always call you to say, okay, when you did it like this, was it like this? When you did it like me, if my junior colleagues submit a bug report to me, what I do is, when you did it like, was it like this? I'll try to, so I won't just follow what they said to me, what they reported to me. I'll try to say, okay, let's go to the application. When you did like, was it like this? When you did like, was it okay? Well, if you do okay, some bugs, I'll say this one is not a bug. Leave it, it's not a bug. Even if I know it's a kind of bug, but based on the business requirement, I can waive it off to say it's not a bug. That's how it should be. Just leave it for them. It's not a bug, or let's raise it as a low priority. Let's just raise it. No bug is, for me, like I always tell people, don't say my bug is stupid. No bug is thrown away. No bug is stupid or foolish. Every bug is a bug. A mistake is a mistake, whether good or bad, whether high or low, is a mistake. Do you understand? So, hope I'm flowing well. Oh. I'm not too in a hurry. Then preparing a bug report, like we said, the continuation, we've said all these things, self-review, submit, link related items, track through closure. Then writing clear steps to reproduce bug. I already mentioned this. So like I'm explaining and I'm going into other pages, writing clear steps, like I said, if you want to write a clear step to produce a bug, you need to log in from the stage of logging, even launching the application. Because most times if you launch an application, there could be a bug that will stop the application from launching. Once they tell you that if you put this URL, bam, you should take it to the dashboard where you see login credentials, and you are putting it and you are getting 404 not found. It's an issue, it's a bug. You have to report it. I launched the application, and that one is even a showstopper self, a critical issue, because at the end of the day, the server may be down at that point in time that you're trying to launch that application, and it's showing you a 404 not found. 404 means not found. This page is not found. That means it's from the back end. The server is down. They should now go on. So if the server is down, how do you want me to test? And you're rushing me that I need to meet up with timelines. So I need to report it immediately. Immediately. Critical are reported immediately in an agile environment. Report it immediately. You don't wait till the end of the day. Immediately as you are seeing it, like bam. Send, if it's your Slack or your Teams or whatever, you send a message, do the screenshot and say it, so that at the end of the day, those kind of issues that you look like they are small, and well, maybe it's server that is that, it may take them 4 or 5 days to fix. Yes, I've seen where server is down. It took them like 2 weeks. They were saying it's not the server. We need to expand our the memory of the server. Blah 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 blah. So if I did not report it at that time, and I was waiting for them to say, okay, bring up the server, it would have been on me, right? So you need to be able to know when to capture or where to start your issues from, where you're writing your steps. So like I said, like this one says, start from a known state, log in as standard user on staging. No, that is not even the first stage. The first stage is launching the application. And if it's a mobile app, the first stage of a mobile app is installation. You install the APK. So if the APK is not installing, because there are times the developers will just give you an app to say, go and install. They'll give you an APK to say, go on your mobile app, go and install. And you don't even test the installation process. For me, if the APK is not working, it's not installing, I'll report it immediately that this your APK is faulty. And it could be that they gave you an APK that's not even properly implemented for it to even launch. So you download it and you install it, and you've downloaded it, but it's not allowing you. Trying to install it, and it's telling you cannot install this APK, or giving you one kind of error. Well, you need to report it. Okay, so you need to start from that stage, right? Launch the app, install APK, log in as user, navigate to social and so, do this. Each step should be properly jotted down for the developers to understand, because they will understand when you put it step by step. And say number each action per step, state the exact data used. So now, like I mentioned, test data. If, for instance, you are trying to log in and your login is failing, right, and you are trying to report such a bug, you need to give them the username and password that you used, because they already have it in their DB. So they need to go and check their logs with that username and password to see actually what the problem is. If it's your username, if your password that is not correct, your username that is not correct, right? Or if it's something that's hindering you, maybe you did not onboard well, something is affecting your user, they need to know. So that's why you need exact data that you use. If it's an account number that you use, that okay, I use this account number instead of it debiting me, it is not correct. You need to give them the exact data that you use, the account number that you use, and everything. So it needs to be among your bugs that you are reporting, among your test data for the bugs that you are reporting. Then the next one says end with precise point of failure, not a general summary. Go straight to the point. Tell them, like I said, the expected result, the actual result, right? And keep steps separate from the expected result and actual result field. So the reproducible steps should not be in your, the reproducible steps could be under your actual result. After you've given the summary of your actual result, right? You describe the after, you can put underneath it, or if there's no field for reproducible steps, you can put underneath it the reproducible steps to get to that actual result. Now, common mistakes to avoid when writing bug reports: vague titles, such as "it doesn't work," error on the page. What error? What doesn't work? You need to state the exact thing. I tried to log in, it doesn't work, or it didn't work, or there was an error. You understand? Most people report it like that. Try an attempt to log in, returned an error. What error? They need to know so that they'll dig down. They'll dig deep into what caused that error. So you need to specify an attempt to log in, returned an error, stating you capture the error that it returned. The next one is missing environment details. Like I said, we have environments, different environments, so you should be able to include your environment details, right? Maybe it's a staging environment, stage the environment, making sure the issue is possible to produce. Then missing multiple unrelated issues into a single bug. So for instance, those days when we were trying to create a defect, so most times I used to there are some times I would try and put different issues in one bug. Like for instance, I'll say, okay, login did not work, user was not able to blah blah blah, user was not able to navigate. I'll try and put them in one defect. So the reason why you cannot put all those issues, all other issues, mixed issues, unrelated issues in one single bug report is one single bug report. Remember I said a bug report or a bug has an identifier. So the reason why you should not put different issues, unrelated issues into one bug is because if they fix A, right, and B is still open, you will not be able to close that bug. And number two, they're even unrelated. So why are you putting them in one single bug? This report here is not even correct. A bug report is like a details of different bugs, right? So you can put unrelated bugs in a bug report, but in a bug, one single bug, you cannot put unrelated issues in one single bug. Okay. Then the next thing is stating opinions or blaming instead of facts. When you are reporting bugs, don't make it a blame. You are not nobody's fault. A mistake has been made, and you are the audit to the developers to audit their job. So you don't need to blame them, right? So say, I've raised this thing before and it's happening again. No. Instead of you say I've raised this thing before and it's happening again, just go back to ticket, full reopen there. Everybody will know that you raised it, they fixed it, and it's happening again. Once you put reopen, if I see reopen, I'll know that yes, this issue, maybe they've tested it has passed before, they closed it and it's reopened, it's happening again. Or the developers, they fixed it, I retested it, and fails again, it's failing again. So I'll reopen it. That time is not a new defect anymore. I'll reopen it. So that time we now need to now start tracing statuses to see what happened, why you opened the issues. I've closed some issues before, right? In my line of 13 on Jira, I closed the issue, it passed, but after some time, that issue came up again. I went back there, I reopened it. They already closed the issue. I went back there, I reopened it. Instead of me to start creating another ticket for it, oh, you angry that can work. I reopened it. Go and fix it again. Anybody that now comes to say, but I thought this was fine. I reopened it because it happened again. So they will now know that the system is regressing. Okay. Now, omitting evidence. Your evidence is your screenshot. Your evidence are your logs. If you have access to the logs, these are evidences that you can use to shut the developers up. You can use to shut them. When they see it, the evidence is just like a picture. You snapping yourself. So anybody that see you will know that yes, this is at this point in time, I rub pepper or I rub red oil on my leaves. Right? So you cannot even argue it because they snapped you a photograph and there was red oil. So how will you not deny that there was no red oil? I don't know whether I'm making sense. So these are your evidence. Your evidence is it's a basic thing that you need to put in your bug report because that alone will calm every developer that tries to argue. Because he's seen the evidence now. So sometimes they'll say it's working on my system, it's working on my bug. I don't know why it's not working on your bug. But this is the evidence that it's not working on my bug. So go and fix it. I don't know what you will do. But go and fix it or do your investigation. Because you will not tell users tomorrow that it's working on your box and it's not working in their box. Some users will be happy, some users will be sad. No, our own is not for some users to be happy and for some users to be sad. Our own is for every user experience, they should always come back with a smiling face. Okay. Now, poor versus well-written bugs. So from this example, you can see the poor bug report says button doesn't work. What button? Step says try to check out. Result says nothing happens. Environment not stated. Attachment none. Written bug. Oh, sorry. Sorry, my hand mistakenly. Oh, shit, where did I go just now? Okay, so you see the poor versus well-written bug. So you can differentiate between them, right? From the screenshot, that well-written bug is the title says submit button on checkout page doesn't respond, right? The browser they use is Chrome. You put the windows of the browser, then you put the steps, you put the expected result, actual result, environment. So any developers that sees this would know what to do. They don't need to even call on you. So this is an example of the left-hand side to me is an example of a poor bug report. The right-hand side is an example of a proper bug report. So you can see that it contains most of the things I mentioned. Now, let's go back quickly, rush over to the bug cycle, bug life cycle, because then we're talking about the details of a bug. Right now, we want to go straight to the bug life cycle. So the bug life cycle, when you raise a new bug as a QA, the first thing that comes to mind is what is the life cycle is of a bug is it describes the complete state from when the bug was raised to when the bug is finally closed, right? So that is the life cycle. So if they say your life cycle is from the stage that you were born to the stage that you died, every process that happened through that throughout to the time, right? Every stage, every process from our childhood, from the first day we were born to becoming infants, to becoming toddlers, to becoming whatever. So those are stages in life. So that's a life cycle. So the same thing applies to bug, right? A bug, they have life cycles too. So when you create a bug, it's new, right? After reviewing the bug, So when you create a bug, it's new, right? The bug is new. Then when it's new, you send it to your team lead, whatever, right, to review it. After reviewing it and agreeing that the bug is okay, you can now assign it to a developer, right? So when the moment you assign it to an issue to a developer to fix it, the status should change to assigned. What the statuses should be a drop down, right? You see a status in the bug, a status column in the box, so they should have a drop down, new, assigned, open, fixed, pending, retest, blah blah blah, right? So now the first stage is new. So anybody that sees a defect that has new status will know that this defect was raised either a few minutes ago and it has not been assigned to a developer. Okay. Then when it's assigned, when you put the name of an assignee, because you saw the list of, if you go back to the details of a bug report just now, you see that there was a column that has assignee. By the time you include an assignee's name there, the status should change to assigned. Okay. The status should change to assigned. Then the developers, you now leave it for the developers to do the rest. Some of the rest, I'll get back to where we'll come to. So by the time it's assigned, it's already with the developer. The developer will now pick it in, checks the bug. If he understands the bug, if he understands, remember this word, if he understands the bug with your reproducible steps and he can actually reproduce it, he will accept it and he will change the status to open or in progress. Okay, that means if it's in progress, it's going to fix it. But if it doesn't understand the bug, it will come back to you. That is when people will now, it will still be open there. That's when people will now be arguing up and down till finally agree. They will not put it in progress. Then when he fixes the bug, if he fixes the bug, if he's sending that bug back to you or tagging you in the ticket, he will be the one to change the status to fixed. Okay? And send it back to you to say I fixed it. So anybody that sees a bug that shows fixed and that fixed is staying 10 days without any retest, they'll come for the QA. Any stakeholder that reads through the bug report and sees fixed, they'll come for it. Why has this not been tested, retested? You need to give them a tangible reason or a good reason why you've not retested. Okay. Now, if they fix it and they've sent it to you and you are busy with maybe some business critical issues, right? Maybe production issues or something, right? Based on criticality of your work. And you don't have time to test, you can now change the status to pending retest. So anybody that sees it, they'll know that yes, you've seen it, you've acknowledged it, that you will retest it, but you don't have time now to retest it, you will retest it. For all these pending retests, all these things that you are doing pending retests, you don't need to do it alone. You need to still talk to the stakeholders, your project manager, because they will be on your neck. So you need to agree to say, okay, what is the priority for me? Should I retest this defect first before continuing with other projects, or I should hold on the retest? So based on your agreement is where you now come back to say pending retest. But if they don't tell you that this bug retest is critical, is priority for now, you need to retest immediately. Okay. Then when you retest and if the issue fails, when you retest, if the issue fails, sorry. When you retest, if the issue fails, right, you send it to the developer as reopened. Meaning you've retested, the reopened is not here now, sorry. I missed it out. You've retested and the issue is still there. So you change it to reopen. Verified or closed. Another thing that I want to point out to you is that while retesting, because they fixed an issue, it's possible that that issue that they fixed breaks an existing functionality. Hello. Up just for me to be sure that we're together, because I'm not seeing anybody's screen. Are we still together? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're following, right? So remember, like I said, at the point of retesting, it could be that because they fixed an issue, remember, they fixed, let's say for instance, they fixed a user could not activate something and is breaking another issue for creating users. Remember, creating users was passing before. You only reported the user could not activate the user. Do you understand? There's nothing to create, there's nothing to activate. To make the user active. Creation is okay, but activation is not okay. That's what you reported. Now, they sent it to you that they fixed the activation, and you now try to test, and you are seeing that creation, you notice that creation is now failing, but activation is passing, meaning it has broken creation. Creation was working before, it has broken it. So what you will do in this case is, the question I'll leave to you guys to answer is, are we now going to close the issue for activation and create another issue for creation? Or would hold the activation ticket? Listen to me. If you don't understand it, tell me that you don't understand it, because you answer that question for me. Remember, I said it's an interactive session, and now my interaction starts. You raise an issue. Listen again. You raise an issue for activation. Retest. Creation was failing. Okay. If creation now starts failing and activation is passing that you reported, should you close the activation ticket and try to create another ticket for creation, or you hold the activation ticket down because you are unable to create, because it has broken something? So that's my question to you guys. Give me your answers. I need answers in the chat. Nike, please help me do a survey of as many people that will get it. Just give me your answers. Do you understand my question? Hello? Do we understand the question I asked,
Please
please?
explain the question again, sir.
Okay, my question is, I reported that user an admin was unable to activate. So there's a requirement that states that an admin should be able to create a user, right? There's another requirement that states that an admin should be able to activate a created user. So that means when you create a user, is one requirement. It doesn't mean that because you've created that user should be able to log in and do all stuff, right? Until you activate that user should not be functional. Okay, you go back and click on activate. Now, when you were testing, you were able to create the user. But clicking on activate, it throws an error. Okay, it throws a server error, an internal server error, which just a generic internal server error. It threw an error has occurred. Please try again later, for instance, right? Now, reported that issue that you were unable to activate the user. It threw an error that an error has occurred, blah, 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 blah. Now, the developer has come back to you that he has fixed it for you to retest. Fine and good. During your retest, you now did the activation. You now try to check the activation again to click on the activate button, and you notice that the activation button now is not showing successful and changing the user states from inactive to active. Fine and good. And you know, okay, let me just do like kind of smoke test around user creation again to flow it to the point of activation, right? And you now try to create a user now, and user creation is now failing, but activation is working. My question is, that activation ticket that you raised that the developer asked you to retest, should you close that activation ticket because activation has been fixed, right? Or because activation has been fixed, and create a new ticket for create? Remember, create is now failing. Or are you going to hold down that ticket, move it back to the developer to say, however, activation is working, but creation now is failing? What are you supposed to do? You get my question now. So please put your answers down. So let's go to the next page. So like I explained, I've explained all this part of it, right? That you can see, I told you that new is for QA tester, that's you. Assign is when your QA team lead assigns, right? Open is when the developer sees it and developer is actively analyzing and fixing the defect. So when it's fixed, the developer also tells you code changes complete, blah, blah, blah. It changes it and assigns it to you, QA. So it tells you, this stage tells you the owners that will change the stages, right? So that's what this thing is about. This page is about. I've explained to those ones. And I've spoken about reopen, tester retest a fix, and the original issue still occurs or reoccurs after initially passing, right? I explained this thing to you. Reopen, the ideology behind reopen. So if you test an issue today and the issue that you tested it fails, it still happens, you reopen the ticket and send to the developer. Or you've tested it before, it passed at some point, but to reopen it. That's what this reopen is. Then rejected is, yes, it's another thing. The developers, they have every right to reject a defect. When your defect doesn't make sense, when you don't have clear description, reproducible steps, there's no reproduce it on their end. And you too, they now say, come and try and reproduce it, and you can't even reproduce it again. Maybe at that point in time, it was due to a network glitch. At that point in time, they were deploying. That was when you tested, right? And it's possible that something may happen at that point in time because it's a network glitch. Like I said, there was a network glitch, or there was a deployment going on that you didn't know, right? And you reported that defect. So if the developer brings it to your attention that this defect I cannot reproduce, you too, you will go back to the system to try and reproduce. If you cannot reproduce it, it's rejected. Okay, so that's it. Or there's no business impact. There's no business impact, or there's no business how will I come up to say this defect does not concern what we've said, what we are releasing, so you can remove it, so they can reject it. Then deferred, yes. So there's also a possibility for a developer to say, defect, doing a defect triage meeting, and everybody comes together to say, okay, well, now we know this is a defect, but it's not really a critical defect that we can fix now. We'll go live with it. We can fix it in phase 2 or phase 3. So that kind of a defect, you put deferred. That means you are postponing they understand it's a defect. They're not doubting you, but they are not fixing it in this current release, right? They are deferring it to sprint 2. So that's deferment to sprint 2. Whatever sprint they are deferring it to, you need to monitor that defect closely if you are still with the organization to ensure that when it gets to that time, they will pick it up. So that means you need to set your calendar. You need to block your calendar with that issue to ensure that day to day you are reminding them to say, sprint 2 don't reach, now so now fix the defect for sprint 2, or you fix it now. Do you understand? Not like they'll say deferred and you just go and drink cold water to say, well, and they say defect is deferred, what's my business? No, you are the custodian of the application. So you need to monitor the issue closely to ensure that the issue is being fixed. And another thing I want to tell QA testers, your work is not only QA that you are doing, no. You're also indirectly doing a project management work. Take it or leave it. You're indirectly doing a project management work because you will not just raise an issue and you go and sit down with the developer to ensure that you chase them so that they will fix these issues and they will release them on time to you to test. Because you may be on top of 10 million bridge going home. And that's when developers will tell you that go fix this critical issue. Your business will call you to say, where are you? Oga, 5 o'clock, don't you just carry back, they go. They will call you. In First Bank, they used to do, ask Nike now. Oh, God. You'll be on top of 3rd million bridge. Your line manager will call you. that they fix this issue. Where are you? You say, I'm on my way home. They say, come back to the office and test it. You don't have a choice, except you want to lose your job now. So that's why you need to chase them. Because most times, project managers and product managers or scrum masters, they'll just leave everything for QA. Yes, so you can still put yourself in their shoes to chase these defects for the defects to be resolved on time. Note it. You need to do it. You need to do it so that the workload will go off your neck. Else, you have so many, you will be choked with the releases developers will be bringing to you. So that's why you need to chase them. You don't just raise defects and relax. No, if you raise defects, follow up. Have you fixed my defects? I used to do that a lot. Nika knows I will follow you. I will be like I'll be like a fly that's following your bum. I will follow you up till you finally fix it. Because I know it's me that will come and test it. You want to give me stress now. Yes. And especially when it's a sprint-based project, they now want to release everything to you, maybe the last day of the sprint, then you'll not be choked. So that's why you need to follow them up on time. And duplicate, like we understand duplicate. Duplicate is just a duplicate of what you've raised. You've raised something with maybe English A, and you now came back to polish it with English B in another ticket. They'll call it a duplicate. So that's what that one means. Then the roles and responsibilities. Well, QA logs a new defect with full details, retest fix it. We should know all these confirmed closures or reopens as needed. QA lead organizes triads. Triad means you're reviewing your defects, right, with the developers and stakeholders, validate priority and severity. Like I said, you redefine priority and severity, resolve disputes about statuses. Yeah. Then developers investigate the root cause, implement fees, update status and technical notes. Then project manager makes deferral decisions, like I said, so they can decide to defer defects based on the business impact. Now, to the last part, which is test summary report, right? So what is a test summary report? So now this is where you now want to present whatever you've done from the beginning, all the tests that you've done, you want to communicate it to stakeholders, right? So it's a document that encompasses everything you've done. Cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3, all the defects you've raised for each stage, each stages, the passed and failed, the date they resolved the defect, the date you raised the defect, right? The date you did your cycle 1, the number of test cases that passed, the number of test cases that failed, the defects that you raised, how many defects were fixed, how many defects are still opened, how many high priority defects are there, how many low priority defects are there, how many high severity, critical severity defects are still open, right? So it's a document that would make all stakeholders decide whether that product should go live or not. Okay, and even if there are still some defects that are pending, but you were pushed into saying, okay, send your test summary report. We don't care about the defects. Then you need to put recommendations. You need to specify the defects that are still pending and the severity levels and priority and severity, especially the severity levels and the impact on the business. Then you now, because by the time you send this report, remember, by the time you send this report, you'll not be there to defend it. They'll just only ask, because they'll just only ask 2 questions. So it's not for management to know. Even if you tell them with word of mouth, I don't believe in word of mouth talk. I'll put them in the document. Even if you tell them with word of mouth that I still have 10 critical defects, and you're saying I should go like, bro, don't say it with word of mouth. They will deny you at that point in time. Everybody will start covering their head. Management don't come up now to say who raised it, why was this defect not captured? Why was this defect not? And you not come. So I told Mr. Abiodun, he said that we should go live. No, why is it not in your test summary report? So it's a document that communicates result, clear go, no go recommendations. So you can now put, I recommend that this thing should not go live. If they now go live and anything happens, it's not on you. I recommend it should be tested, because due to environment limitations, we could not test on dev. It should be done post go live. If they don't now go and test post go live, it's not your business anymore. Because the document already says it all. Okay? So that is test summary reporting. So it's a summarized report of all the testing activities that you've carried out within a space of time, within for that product within a space of time. So it encompasses you do your introduction of the product, you do your scope, in scope and out of scope, right? The environment that you tested on, the limitations on the environment, recommendations, failures. You have to put all these things into your document, right? So, and how do you know when to actually send your test summary report? Is another question that we need to ask ourselves. It may not be in this document, but you need to ask yourself, how do I know when to test that test has been completed for me to send my test summary report? Like I said initially, in my years of testing, right, there's no one application that is bug free. No one. Even Facebook is not bug free. Even Elon Musk, what's his Twitter is not bug free. There must be a bug, but what is the impact of that bug to the application? What is the impact of that bug to the business? That's what really matters. Do you understand? And that brings me to bug release and I think bug release and bug. I've forgotten. I remember that name. So a bug release, right? You can write it down. A bug release is we know that there's this bug and we're going live with it, but it's not impacting the business in a negative way, or it's not impacting the application in a negative way. That's bug release. Okay, the other one is I've forgotten the other one. I remember so many things on my head, many thoughts across my head now. So now a test summary report is called a test closure report. That means you've closed your test, you are packing your load. I'm giving you my report, right? So that report will now make stakeholders decide if they should go live or not. Okay. So it's a document that encompasses your end-to-end testing that you've done. Like I said, you need to put the number of and you've ended it with maybe 22 bugs and you start cycle 2. Where those bugs in cycle 1, the 22 bugs in cycle 2, cycle 1, were they fixed? So cycle 1 is, for instance, you've tested all your test cases from 1 to 100 and you came up with 52 bugs. Okay, you came up with 52 bugs and they fixed those 52 bugs. Out of the 52 bugs, maybe they fixed 34 or 33. There's remaining some other ones with low priority and they said some of them are duplicates and some of them they deferred some. Fine and good. You retested those 30 something that they fixed and they're okay. So the reason why you should start cycle 2 again is just for regression, just to be sure that those 34 bugs that they fixed, right, they did not impact existing functionality. So you need to do a fresh flow from test case 1 to 100 again, just to be sure that those bugs are not just fixed, but they didn't break anything and they are not introducing new bugs to the system. So that's why you will do another flow of tests from number 1 to the number of test cases that you have. That is why we call them cycles. So just like you completing a flow. You have 100 test cases, you've done from 1 to 100. Maybe you couldn't do from 1 to 100 because of some blockers. You did some from 1 to 99. In some cases, you could have done from 1 to 100. In some cases, maybe you did some 1 to 99. But at the end of the day, you raised an issue, right? So that test period has ended. Okay, they fixed the issue and you tested the issues that you've raised and they are okay, right? Now you need to do a fresh level of test just to be sure from 1 to 100 again, just to be sure that whatever they fixed did not break existing functionality. So that's why we call them cycle. So you can see when you hear anywhere you hear cycle, just know what I mean by cycle. So at the end of a test cycle that communicates what he said, a test summary report, also called a test closure report, is a concise document produced at the end of a test cycle that communicates what was tested, how testing went, what defects remain reopened, whether the release is recommended to proceed. I've said all this, right? So I'm just reading it to you for reading purpose so that you understand. So at the end of the cycle, so what you do is if you have like 10 cycles that you've done, maybe because of the consistent bug, you now did 10 cycles, you need to state the 10 cycles, the number of passed in each cycle, the number of failed, the number of defects that you raised, the number of tests that you could not test, reasons for why you could not test them, how many bugs were fixed, how many bugs were not fixed, how many high priority, high severity bugs are still open for each cycle, for cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3. Then when you now get to the last cycle, how many bugs were fixed? Are all the bugs okay? Have all the bugs been addressed? Are there no more issues, critical issues? How will you know if there are still, if you should not go live? For instance, you still have some bugs opened. That's where you now need to do a defect triage meeting again. You now need to organize a defect meeting to review the remaining bugs that are remaining with stakeholders, because this is not your call anymore, right? They'll not tell you that no, we don't want to go live, even if these defects are remaining. So everybody will now put their heads together to agree on, okay, are these defects critical? No, they are not critical. They are minor defects. Okay, we'll defer some of them, and some of them we will fix some of them in the future. Let's go live. Do you get? So we already know that there are issues. So if those issues happen in production, the user sees those issues, we already know it's a bug release. Yes, we tested them and we already understand that these bugs are there, we'll fix it. So that's why you see most times you see updates. If you have your mobile app, intermittently you see some updates being done at night. Some of them are not just because they want to add new features. Some of them are just for them to fix some bug releases that they're already aware of. But because they want to go live, the pressure of going live, they just pushed it live like that. Then bug leakage, yes, that's the second word I wanted to remember. Bug leakage, yes, bug leakage. There's bug release. So bug leakage is a bug that you during your testing you did not see it, but the end user, when it goes to production, the end users will not see it. That's called bug leakage. And you omitted that bug, but it's the end users that now saw the bug for you. It's a bug leakage. And when that kind of a thing happens, man, if your business is a kind of business that's very hard, they'll hit out on you. Why didn't you see it? And especially when it's a critical bug, they'll hit out on you. Why did you see it? So it's now your duty to now say, okay, let me retest it and now know the reason why you didn't. Maybe it was hidden or something, but you should be able to now document it somewhere, maybe in your SharePoint, to say, okay, this kind of issues, how do I try as much as possible for these issues not to repeat itself anymore? Do you understand? So it must be documented. So like I said, there's bug release, there's bug leakage. Okay, it may not be in this document, but that is it. So for the test summary reports, like I've explained everything about test summary reports in a nutshell. So we only just need to go through the purpose and when to send it. So like I said, if you still have some issues opened and you need to send the test summary report, it's not your duty to just send the test summary report like that. The developers and the stakeholders need to hold a meeting and come together to say, okay, but if there are critical defects and they want to with it, they are pressurizing you that they want to go live with it, you need to now specify them your test summary report and give your recommendation. The recommendation there for the critical defects is for them not to go live. But if they now decide that this defect should be tested before go live, but if they now decide to go live, it's not on you anymore. Do you get it? So that is, I think that is, and you now need to know what's the content of the test summary report. So the test objective should be there. The scope, like I said, should be there. The environment, I said it. Execution summary, right? Talk about test cases planned, field. I said all those things, right? Defect summary, right? Total defect. I said all these things. Test coverage, percentage of requirements or features. Okay, well, maybe I didn't mention this test coverage. Test coverage is we not do like a ability, right? Test cases to each requirement against the FRD, right? So you know that will enable you know the test coverage that you covered, right? Then the risk, your risk, how do you know your risk is from your bugs, right? The risks involve the blockers, dependencies affecting the release. You need to state them. Then your exit criteria, you need to now put your exit criteria, whether you agree or not that it should go live, right? When agreed, so you say whether agreed release criteria were met, e.g., zero open. So your exit criteria, you already put it in your test plan, right? So your exit criteria now should be zero open, critical or high defects. And if they are still zero, they are still open or high defects, that's when you now give your recommendation that it should not go live. So you have every right. So you are the custodian of the application. You have every right to tell them not to go live with the application. But if they still decide to go live with the product, no, okay. Then before you now sign off, your QA lead to sign off, and relevant stakeholders to sign off. I think that's where I'll stop today. So can we Nick, I hope I'm not I didn't take much time, Sha. Can we entertain questions now? Because every other thing here is just the same thing I've mentioned before. Every other thing is the same thing I've mentioned. So can we entertain questions, Nick? So I can't actually see hands up. If you're raising your hand, maybe probably let me stop sharing so that I can see people's hands. All right. Can you still hear me? Guys, or are we sleeping? Hello? Am I
Yes, sir.
audible? Okay, so any questions? Any questions, observations, contributions, whatever?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for this wonderful session. I actually dropped my questions on the chat, but let me just quickly read out. I was trying to ask some questions earlier on while the session was going on. Okay, I don't know if you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. So my first question, when you talked about bugs, right? The type of bugs. So I now I know these things happens regularly. So my question is, okay, when you're testing an application, right, and you've tested an Android, everything was okay, no issues, and you're testing that same feature on an iOS, and that iOS is having issues.
Yeah.
Likewise, on the browser as well. Would you report that as a bug? And how do you classify the severity and priority? That's my first question.
Okay.
Then the second question, right? How do we manage, when you have a very tight environment that they keep shipping out products every now and then? How do you manage different projects concurrently, say 2 to 5 different projects, and you're the only QA and you have tight deadlines? How do you manage it? How do you manage to test thoroughly without um, bug leakage? So, from your experience, right, how have you been able to manage such project if you've actually encountered that? But this is a typical um, example of what is currently happening to me. So I'm trying to understand from an expert like you how you've been able to manage it.
Okay.
Thank you. Those are my
Okay,
questions.
can you hear
Thank
me?
you.
Confirm you can hear me.
Yes, but it sounded a bit faint. Not really audible. You're not really audible.
Okay, let me put on my AirPods again. Can you hear me now?
Yes, please. Better. Much better.
Okay. My headphone was low before. Okay, your first question. Can you rephrase that?
Okay.
You said your first question was about
You tested an
um
application maybe on an Android, everything was perfectly okay. You test the same thing on iOS, you're having issues there. Likewise, the browser, maybe Chrome is fine, Edge is not
hello?
fine.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So come again, please.
Now, you have an application that you're running, right? See, a web application. You
Okay.
tested
I
on the,
understand the question. I understand the question now. Yeah.
okay,
So
all right,
to answer that your question, you tested on Android, right? And the Android
okay,
passed. There was no issues.
yeah,
Android was the first point of call for you. You tested, you passed, there was no issues. You tested on iOS, you found some issues, right? You tested on browser, you found the same issues on the browser. So the first thing you need to do, because you started with Android, right? It could be that
yeah,
at the point when you were testing the Android, there were no issues actually, right? But since you tested on iOS to confirm the same fix or the same feature on iOS and on your browser, the issues, the same, you raised the same. So I would advise you to go back to the Android to test on the Android again. Do you
okay,
understand?
yes,
Yes. It's proper you go back to the Android to test on the Android again because it could be that the introduction of the iOS and browser releases introduce those bugs, right? So it's better for you to just be on the safe path, test on the Android again. when you test on the Android again and you still did not see those issues on the Android, yes, you can raise the issues for the iOS and browser. And depends on like I said, depends on the impact of the issues to the application. I cannot tell you how to prioritize them now or how to make them severe, right? How to classify them. But it depends on the impact. You should know the impact. If it's more, like I said, if it's monetary impact, it has to be a critical defect, right? If it's a showstopper, it has to be a critical defect. All we try to achieve during our testing is for us to raise issues, classify them properly, and before we go live, right, we ensure that critical defects and high level defects they are closed. Sometimes we even say medium level defects, they should be closed too. But most times we can cut an edge to say, okay, medium and low, you can go live with them since it doesn't really have serious impact. Do you understand? But no business will want to go live with high level and critical defects. Do you understand? So classification of defects could to me, I can classify a defect as critical. If you take a second look at it, you can say this is not critical. I may not be correct. I may be correct. You may be correct. You may not be correct. So it depends on your business and the agreement between you and your team lead. Do you understand? But because it's not happening on Android doesn't mean you shouldn't report it. I've tested same application on one app on both Android and iOS, and the Android was working well. Or no, the iOS was working well. The Android wasn't working well. Do you understand? I had to report it. The fact that it's happening on because there are two different applications, right? There are two different. Forget the fact that they pick from they call data from the same database or from the same DB, but the processes or the stuff that go the connectivities, the stuff that go underneath them, iOS and Android, they are different. So that's why most times if you've tested an app before on iOS, you notice that if you have done an automation on Android before, you notice that we use Android Studio. While on iOS it's more complicated to even test the automation on because you now have to now go and be installing your what's it called safe. You cannot use Android Studio to test flight and not even test flight, S code. Yeah. You don't have to go and be installing S code, doing some stuff. On Android, you can actually do use an emulator instead of a simulator. Like you plug your physical device. But I'm not sure you can do that on iOS.
Yes.
Do you understand? Well, maybe because I'm more of testing. To me, I like testing applications on the web than for phone test. I don't really like phone test. Like I always tell Jumoke when I say I'm testing phone, doing phone test at times, and some of my colleagues I hate phone test die because you now be putting your phone in front of you and be pressing it. And that thing is just like you browsing now. You tiring sometimes. You get and most times too, if you raise a defect on a phone, on a mobile app, if you raise that A is not present in the mobile app, they will now go and fix it and send another APK to you again for you. Or like web applications, you just fix it and say go and tell. You don't need to log in and tell. But this one, you go and start from the beginning again. So that's it. Then the second question, hope I answered the first question.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. Yes, yeah.
And for the second question, right, you have so many projects that you're working on in your organization and you're giving a tight schedule, tight timeline. This thing happened to me in First Bank then. There was one project that I was working on, and I was working in numerous projects then, right? And they brought this project and they were saying I should test it in 7 days. And when I calculated the test cases were about 500 and something test cases. You understand? How do you expect me and with other projects? How do you expect me to test 500 test cases and say only me? I told them that no, I cannot test it too. They said I gave them my own timeline and they said no, I should come and defend it. I said, well, no problem. No. I now did an estimate of how many test cases I can test in a day, right? You understand? That's the number of test cases I can test in a day. Let's say, for instance, the SLA for test cases to be tested in a day is 50, right? I said, okay, for instance, I can test 50 in a day. How many days will it take me to test 500 test cases minus weekends? Is that no more than 10 days?
Yeah.
So I told my line manager then, Nike knows the man, I allowed him. I said, if you want me to test the test cases 7 days, I'll send a mail, right? I'll test it in 7 days. But anything that comes up, no, I not told him that no. Now you want me to test this test cases in 7 days? Say, yeah, okay, no problem. I'll test it in 7 days. But we have to prioritize the requirements. Go through my test cases, prioritize the test cases I will test in 7 days. I cannot complete the whole test cases in 7 days. And he said he would do it. I said, okay, no problem. We'll send it through email. And when I said that, we'll send it through email to my line manager, to everybody stakeholder. And when I said that, he backed off. He gave me my timeline.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I got it. I got it.
I said, we'll send a mail. You give me my timeline. He gave me my time. He said, go and do it. No problem. Go on. He not told the business, leave him, let him go and do it. Now, when you want to put for trouble, you define. Yes, because how will you expect me to test? Am I a robot? So, in such a case where you have different projects that you're working on and you are the only QA there and it's affecting you, or maybe you have a tight deadline for you to meet for all across all projects, you need to call the business together because I believe it's one product. It's one product manager that you have, it's one project manager that you have, or probably you must have different project managers, and you need to tell them which and which is high priority. Let's prioritize. What are we testing first? What do we? I'm not a robot to test A, test B, testing now. What product do you, what life? If they tell you that is the one you should face, you need to call. You
Okay.
shouldn't pretend about it. You don't pretend. But at the end of the day, it is still you that will still come, they will still come back and say you're not doing your work well. So to avoid it, let them come and define. You gave me project A, project B, project C, project E to test. Why are you giving me all the projects to test now? Am I a robot? Prioritize which one in this particular sprint. What are we going live with first? If you cannot prioritize it, then let's leave it like that. I'm not picking any tickets. Nobody will beat you. You're not being rude. You say it politely. Oh. You're not being rude, but you're trying to guide your space.
Yes.
Okay? I think that will yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yes.
Bro.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Any other question? Please, I am open for questions, observations. If I was too fast during the test and during my explanations, during my talk show, you can bring me back to a particular area that you don't understand. I can share this. Nike, am I free to share this my material with them? Just for them to have an insight. Nike here. Hello. I'm not sure Nike is here. Oh. Okay, maybe if you need the material, you can reach out to Nike. She'll reach out to me, then I can share it with her, right? And it's free. It's at no cost. So no other questions. So can I ask my own question now?
Out of all
How are you?
the, good, thank you very much, sir. So, out of
Yeah.
all the scenarios you explained today, you never give us like probably like problems to solve, apart from the one you asked initially. At
We'll
least could
get
you
there
not?
now. We'll get there now. You think I will
Oh,
not give you problem to solve? That problem to solve, I will give you problem that you take home to go and solve. So if you want to, yeah.
all
So
right.
I'll give you a real life application, right? Like a test application for you
Oh,
to like So we'll get there. I just want to know if there are questions,
okay.
observations.
Thank you, sir.
So if there are none, so let me prepare my questions and give to you. Just give me a minute. I'll put them here. Okay. I'll put them here. So I'll explain the the questions to you, the stuff to you. Okay. So I have an application, right? Let me see the URL. I copy the URL with it. Okay, let me copy the URL. I have an application, a trade application, like a commerce application. Okay, and you need to log in with two credentials. The two credentials are there. Are you listening? And I want to browse product catalog, sort it by price, add it to my cart so that I can quickly find and purchase the items. I'm sending it now. So if you have any questions, you ask. So the first login uses error underscore. Then it give you the two credentials that you need to log in with. Product and problem underscore user or error underscore user. The password is secret source price. Add item to my cart, right? So that I'll be able to I'll quickly find and purchase items that I want at the best price. So the acceptance criteria is each product on inventory page displays its own correct image, name, and description. You know what acceptance criteria is? Then two, selecting price low to high. Reorders the list so that the lowest priced item appears first. So this is sorting, right? And the third one is adding an item to the cart. Update the cart icon, items added with correct names and prices. Then the user checkout. Let me update. Right? Any questions? Hmm? Can you hear me? Can you guys even hear me at all? I don't update this thing. No? Am I audible?
Yes, you are. We can hear you.
I beg one of the answer me. So the fifth acceptance criteria is that checkout. Checkout. You know what checkout means now? And pay for your item. So the link is there under number 5 to the URL. Let everybody check if they can access it. To the URL. Let's check if we can access it. So what I want you guys to do for me is based on our lecture for today, right? You will see defects, it's sure. Those two users will give you defect. That's why we name them problem underscore user and error underscore user, right? So whatever defect you have, create them in an Excel, okay? Using the different columns that I mentioned during my lecture. Report the defects, the steps to reproduce the defects, set your high priority, apply the defects, and if there's screenshots you can attach in the Excel. Any questions? Then at the end of the day, you can just write a summarized report, test summary report on the issues. Just write a test summary report on the test that you just did, whether or not there are still defects. Just write a test summary report. That's all. So let me put it on. Test the app with the user ensures provided above. Report your defects in an Excel and prepare a test summary report. So that's it. Any questions on this assignment? On this quiz? Let me call it a quiz, not an assignment. Hello? Please, you guys should answer me. Oh, nobody's answering me. It's like I'm talking to myself.
No question.
Quiz, shall we? If you don't understand, you tell me. I'll explain it again. No, I can share my screen to show you. So what I'll do in the first place is, let me explain. I just want to show you. Let me share my screen. I know some of us are not.
Thank you.
We are new. Yes, I understand that you are new, but let's answer so that we can help each other, right? If you don't speak, nobody will know. So so this is the application, right? I've picked so that's the application. So they said problem user. Don't use the other users. So I know you can see different users there, but don't use them. The password is source, right? I'll log in, right? Let me, so the first question there, the first acceptance criteria there is each product has its inventory, displays its own correct page, image, name, and description and price. So let's go back. So source lab feedback, you can see what is wrong with this thing. The first acceptance criteria says each product on inventory page displays its own correct image, name, description, and price. So what's happening on this page that you're seeing? The image does not align to each product. This one says t-shirt, this one says backpack. Is this dog a backpack? No. Is this dog a t-shirt? No. So that is the first issue. The name, description, let's see the description. Is there a description? Carry all things with slick, streamline, blah, blah, blah. This is a backpack. Okay, you're talking about backpack. Get your testing superhero with source lab. I'm talking about shirt, yeah. This one saying one C, blah, 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 blah. Okay. This one says bike light, a red light. Okay, this one is correct. So you can see that the first issue here is the image. Every other thing talks about. In this acceptance criteria, the image is the issue. So you report it. Do you understand how to go about the others now? Selecting price low, high. So let's go and see if we can select price. There's there to select. I'm just showing you so that you know what to do. Okay. Price to okay, let's low to high. So I've selected low to high now. Is it selecting? You can see that it's not selecting. Because I'm supposed to see, can you see it's not selecting?
No.
Another issue. So the price low to high is not selecting. So it's supposed to be sorted. Then adding item to a cart. So let me add this item to a cart. I've added one. I added another one. You see, second one is not adding. Okay, second one is adding. No. Some of them are not adding. Can you see this one is not adding? Can you see? The 3, this 15, this thing is not adding. I'm clicking it is not adding. But only 2 you can add only 2 items. You can add 3. But why some of them are not adding, Sha? So just are you speaking to me? Can you hear me? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, you are. We can hear you.
You're audible, sir.
Them are not adding. So just use this acceptance criteria that I put in that place to test all these things. Using those two users, you'll be able to come up with some defects, even if it's one defect that you came up with. Reporting it very well. But I know from what I've seen now, I've seen more than like 2 or 3 defects, right? Using problem user. So if I want to log in as error user, I can come here again, test with error user to test those 5 acceptance criteria to just be sure that this one. So I'll test with error user the 5 acceptance. I'll test against the 5 acceptance criteria, right? So this error user now, what is this one now? This error user now, right? I've seen it now, it's coming up. I'll make it fun. This error user, if you want to check out, so let me put my name. For instance, you can see that last name is not typing. Zip code is not typing. Zip code is typing, but last code is not typing, so it's an issue. If I want to continue, it must ask me. I'm supposed to be able to enter my first name and last name, but last name didn't type and it allowed me. So it's an issue. So just go through it like that with the 2 users, testing this acceptance criteria. That is the work I said you should do. Test against each acceptance criteria. Do you understand it now? Odunayo, do you understand?
Yes.
Any questions?
Yes. Yes.
Eh?
Sir,
Your question.
can
Yes,
you
go
hear me?
ahead. My name is Elvis.
Okay. Thanks for the thoughts. So my question is there like then lastly, sir, can you share your LinkedIn account? Maybe one can connect.
Oh, my LinkedIn account is Elvis. Okay, I'll share that one. Elvis Ekata. That's my LinkedIn account. Or you can see me like this. Okay, please, if you have a blog, okay, Google Sheets, you are sent a Google Sheets. Okay. You can still share with them. You can search with me like this, Sha.
All right, I'll share it.
Okay. All right. So, any other questions? Abubakar, Ayo has asked question. Let me call names since you people don't want to. I will ask anybody a random question. Can I still go ahead and ask? Or should I drop my ball here? Elizabeth, any question? It's only Nonso that asked the question today, and Odunayo. Every other person, I know you on a voice. Anyways, okay. If no question, I don't think I have any bug. I'm just trying to go through. I'm not sure. Nika will share a bug reporting Google Sheet with you now. So you see the way it is. Okay. So I'll drop my ball today and I doff my heart for everybody. We are available if you need any mentor. Mentor doesn't mean come and be training you again, because I believe these trainings you've been able to use them, right? If you need my profile, Nikki, I will give you more of my profile. You can add me up. And I wish you all the best. Another advice is you need to be very, 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 very passionate about this job. Because on points, but you need to be passionate. Passion will drive you to do the best. Okay? All the best.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
Nikki, over
Elvis.
to you.
All right. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
All
Yes,
right.
yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Elvis. That was really profound. Thanks so much. We have really learned a lot. And please just try and connect with him on LinkedIn. This is if you have access to somebody like Elvis, for sure I can tell you you have a very strong connection. And like I've always said, this is the first day of the training. It's very important the kind of connection that you keep. If you want to go far in this career, in fact, you really have to have a very good connection, because that they will really, when you form good relationship with people like Elvis, I think I'm very sure that you will go very far in this career. So thank you once again, Mr. Elvis. And guys, we'll be meeting tomorrow to have the final class tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be taking you through some practical sites where you can start your career. You can start hands-on on software testing. I mean sites like UTest and the likes. So you use that to build your portfolio. So I'll also be sharing the groups. There will be groups for capstone project. So I need all your attendance tomorrow. The attendance of today is not as encouraging as the past class. So your participation in the capstone project will determine if you will be eligible for a certificate after this bootcamp session. So I wish you a nice and restful weekend. See you tomorrow. Bye, guys. The recording session will be shared on our WhatsApp channel, so just stay tuned. Bye, everyone.